Our source material today is something genuinely unique.
It really is.
We're looking at a detailed analysis of an English language lesson, one that used, well, profound religious literature.
Specifically, yeah, Jesus' teachings on forgiveness,
Hmm.
all aimed at helping learners achieve fluency fast.
So we're diving deep into this fascinating intersection, right? High
Mhm.
stakes moral lessons meeting practical language acquisition.
Exactly. And this source is really tailored for you, our listener, especially if you're focused on getting the most knowledge gain through, meaningful content.
Okay.
Our mission here is to understand how the deep emotional and moral weight in these parables kind of acts as a shortcut.
Right. How does that actually work?
We need to unpack the specific vocabulary, those really powerful metaphors, the cultural idioms that really stuck with learners.
And figure out why forgiveness is framed in the source material as endless or unlimited.
That's the core of it.
Okay, let's unpack this mechanism then. The sources make a pretty strong case that learning English through stories packed with strong emotions and moral lessons, it bypasses that struggle of just memorizing lists.
Right. Rote
The
memorization.
words become instantly meaningful. But tell us, what's the core reaction here? How does this emotional weight actually, make things stick?
Well, it's really about creating durable memory pathways.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. When you attach a new word like, say, compassion, just to an abstract definition, it's easily forgotten. But if you attach compassion to a vivid story, maybe about someone receiving this radical life-altering mercy,
Okay.
that word gets immediately anchored by a powerful emotion, maybe surprise or relief or something like that.
Ah, I see.
The learners actually reported this dual benefit. They saw linguistic improvement, and it sparked emotional reflection.
That emotional scaffolding. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, let's start with the central kind of radical idea that anchored the whole lesson.
The big one.
Peter writes, one of the apostles, he asked Jesus for a clear metric, a boundary on forgiveness. Isn't that just incredibly human?
Oh, completely. We want to know the limit.
Right. So we can stop counting.
Exactly. Peter was actually being pretty generous by the cultural standards back then. He suggested forgiving up to 7 times.
7 times. He was looking for a clear, finite number, a box to put forgiveness in.
He needed that box. Yeah,
And Jesus just obliterated the box.
completely.
The response was that memorable, boundary-shattering line, I tell you, not 7 times, but 70 times 7.
And the literal math, 490 times, it's irrelevant. That's the point the teacher really hammered home.
Right.
If you're still tracking the count, you haven't actually grasped the concept. The source notes this phrase really communicated to the learners that forgiveness isn't meant to be limited or counted like some kind of transaction. It has to be endless, like a way of life. The sheer shock of such a huge, almost impossible number, it helps cement the word forgive as something fundamentally non-quantifiable in their minds.
I love that analysis, the shock factor. It forces you to stop thinking transactionally like it's debt settlement
Exactly.
and start thinking of it as a state of being. And this idea, this non-quantifiable reciprocity, it's immediately reinforced, isn't it? By the Lord's Prayer, which they used for listening practice.
That's right. The phrase, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. It's a perfect linguistic comparison structure.
Okay.
It directly ties the internal choice you make to the external benefit you hope to receive. It really highlights that reciprocal nature.
Give and take.
Yeah. You can't successfully ask for mercy in English, or really in life, without signaling that you're willing to extend it too. The lesson presented this as a kind of fundamental moral mirror.
This shift from, simple arithmetic to real emotional depth. That's where the learning gets visceral, right? The lesson used an incredibly powerful metaphor about the immense emotional cost of clinging to resentment.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be told forgive. It's another thing entirely to be shown why you should want to.
And the instructor used an image that just instantly cut across cultures, across language barriers. It was potent.
What was it?
The image was, forgiveness is like releasing a prisoner
Okay.
and then realizing the prisoner was you.
Wow, that is profound.
Isn't it?
It perfectly encapsulates that psychological trap of holding a grudge. We keep replaying the injury thinking we're somehow punishing the other person.
Right. We think you're in control.
But the source clarifies we're actually hurting ourselves. We're the ones trapped in that cell of the past.
And what's fascinating is how the teacher immediately linked this feeling, this internal release, to practical, everyday English expressions. the kind learners have to master to sound fluent.
Connecting the feeling to the words.
Exactly. They weren't just learning a feeling, they were learning how to articulate that freedom. Phrases like let go, move on, and make peace.
Okay, so the ultimate psychological takeaway here. The lesson defined forgiveness not as like meek surrender, but as active strength. Did the sources offer any counter-argument or any nuance? Because, cynically, a lot of people see turning the other cheek as weakness.
That tension, it was definitely addressed directly. The lesson stated pretty emphatically that forgiveness isn't weakness, it's strength.
How so?
Because it means actively choosing peace, choosing forward momentum over staying stuck in anger and, stagnant resentment.
Choosing peace over anger.
Right. And the sources showed that by attaching these really high-value moral judgments to phrases like let go and move on, those phrases became instantly stickier, more memorable, more useful for the learner.
So we've got the moral framework, the thing that accelerates retention. Now let's talk brass tacks.
Okay.
What practical vocabulary and language tools did they actually learn from this powerful context? Because, the end goal here is fluency.
Right. They moved pretty quickly into the core vocabulary that defines the whole discussion. Forgive, mercy, sin, compassion.
The key terms.
The key terms. And crucially, they focused on the grammatical architecture around them. Well, the lesson included rigorous pronunciation exercises, distinguishing between the verb, the noun, and the gerund forms.
Like forgiving forgiveness.
Exactly. The learners practice those subtle but really important shifts. Understanding those distinctions is key to using the word correctly, especially in complex sentences.
And the lesson made sure they weren't just practicing like academic language, right? But real-world cultural fluency, too.
Definitely. By highlighting essential English idioms for peacemaking.
Idioms. Always tricky, but so important.
Two key idioms really stood out in the sources, ones that would immediately elevate a speaker's proficiency.
What were they?
The first, really essential for, post-conflict resolution, was bury the hatchet.
Okay, classic.
Defined simply as making peace, ending a conflict. The practice example they used was great. After years of not speaking, they finally buried the hatchet. Easy to visualize.
Yeah, very clear image. And the second word?
The second was directly related to the core source material. Turn the other cheek.
Makes sense.
Which means responding to an injury or a slight with not retaliation. Often with kindness, actually, instead of seeking revenge.
These two idioms alone are really high-value additions for any learner.
Huge value. And we can't overlook the emphasis on polite and formal English either. That's often where learners really struggle.
True, getting the tone right.
So the lessons drilled students on practical, respectful phrases. Things you can use in daily life, and definitely in professional settings.
Like what?
They emphasized using phrases like, would you forgive me? Or, please accept my apology.
That demonstrates a real mastery of cultural nuance, doesn't it? Knowing the difference between just a terse, sorry I'm late, and the much more respectful and formal, I'm sorry for being late, I hope you can forgive me. That shift.
That's it.
From just functional communication to natural, respectful interaction, that's the real measure of fluency, isn't it?
Absolutely. The lesson taught that true language mastery involves understanding the emotional weight behind your word choices. It's about showing empathy and respect, not just, relaying facts.
Speaking of immense costs and the importance of demonstrating respect, that brings us neatly back to the central drama that fueled this whole lesson. The parable of the unforgiving servant.
Right, the core story.
What was the conflict in that narrative that made it such a powerful learning tool?
Well, the core conflict was just monumental hypocrisy. And it was staged with this dramatic financial contrast.
Okay.
You have this servant who was forgiven an astronomical, a huge debt by his master, a sum he literally could never hope to repay.
And impossible now.
Impossible.
Okay.
But then immediately afterward, he goes out and refused to forgive a small debt, like a few dollars, that was owed to him by a fellow servant.
Wow, that contrast is so sharp. It just immediately delivers that strong moral message the source material promised if we want mercy. Right.
We have to show mercy to others.
Yeah.
Exactly. The narrative tension, the master eventually finding out the servant's punishment, it creates this unforgettable anchor for all the vocabulary associated with debt, mercy, anger.
It cements the words through story.
Right. And this narrative context actually helped their grammar comprehension too.
How did that work?
The sources noted that the listening practice focused heavily on passages that rely on comparison structures, like this quote they used from Ephesians. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you.
Ah, the just as structure. That's brilliant.
Isn't it? By presenting the grammar structure, just as right alongside this high-stakes value judgment, comparing the magnitude of divine forgiveness to human forgiveness,
Mhm.
the learners simultaneously internalize how to build comparison clauses and the moral weight of the message itself.
The learning becomes deeply integrated, grammar and meaning together.
It creates a memorable event around the sentence structure, not just the word definition. And the consensus among the learners was clear. Using these stories is effective because the sentences are often quite poetic or formal.
Right, which prepares them for more complex English.
Exactly. Literary English, formal settings,
Yeah.
while the sheer emotional and moral weight makes the vocabulary meaningful and just exponentially easier to recall.
So, wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, the learner, who's interested in accelerated, meaningful knowledge gain?
Well,
This deep dive really seems to confirm that engaging with deeply moral, well-structured content offers a kind of powerful shortcut.
it does. It feels like both language practice and spiritual reflection at the same time. Some even called it a mini therapy session.
A deeply felt experience, not just a lesson.
Precisely. And the most powerful phrases the learners remembered weren't just vocabulary words in isolation, they were declarations of personal freedom.
Like what?
Things like forgiveness brings peace to the heart and let go of anger, and you'll find freedom. Forgiveness, through this kind of lesson, wasn't just a word you learned to use. It became a choice that fundamentally impacts your ability to communicate effectively and really relate to the world.
Absolutely. We started this deep dive exploring that command, that forgiveness must be 70 times 7, non-quantifiable, non-transactional,
Unlimited.
unlimited. So here's maybe a final provocative thought for you, the listener, to carry forward.
Okay.
Consider how this concept of non-quantifiable, non-transactional value applies to other challenging aspects of your life or your learning goals. What else in your world, whether it's managing frustration, tackling complex projects, navigating difficult relationships. What else needs to be handled, not by counting, not by tallying up scores, not by transactional thinking, but simply by choosing to let go, by committing to an unlimited approach.
Yeah. Something to mull over.
Definitely something to mull over as
Yeah.
you continue your own learning journey.